So welcome back friends. Welcome in another video tutorial where we will going to discuss about the last chromatographic technique. Okay. So today we will going to discuss about the gas chromatography. So gas chromatography, I want to mention that just like other chromatographic technique, this gas chromatography is also nothing but a interaction between stationary phase and our mobile phase. Okay, that we are discussing from the very beginning of chromatographic lecture, where we have touched about the paper chromatography and the thin chromatography, right? From that I am telling you that that chromatographic technique is nothing but a interaction between stationary phase and mobile phase. So the thing is also applicable for this gas chromatography. Okay, so it is the analytical technique gas chromatography which we are using to separate chemical components. Okay, it is the analytical technique which we are using to separate chemical components from a sample. Okay, so now this chemical component can be of two types. It can be organic molecules. Okay, I am referring this as OM. So I think if I use another color, so it will be very good for you. Okay, so as I am telling you that for chemical substance, among chemical substance, organic molecules and gases are mainly separated by gas chromatography. Okay, so another important thing that I want to mention, that the sample to be separated should have some important criteria to be separated with the help of gas chromatography, meaning that there are some properties that a sample should fulfill, so we can use it in gas chromatography. Otherwise we do not get any kind of result, that is obvious, but along with we will also lost our sample. Okay, so the first important thing is the sample should be thermostable. Okay, thermolabile sample cannot be used for gas chromatography because here it too much amount of heat will be generated during the procedure, right? And that is why we cannot use any kind of thermolabile sample for gas chromatographic technique. Okay, the second thing is the sample should be volatile. Okay, and it should be below 1250 Dalton molecular weight. Okay, so that is the three important parts that I have written in the point number 3, that for GC to be successful in their analysis, the component should be volatile. Okay, and also the component should be of molecular weight lower than 1250 Dalton. Okay, and it should be thermally stable, so that the component should not get degraded in the GC system. Okay, now so we are using this gas chromatographic technique for across most of the industries. Okay, from pharmaceutical quality controls to cars to chemicals. Okay, in any kind of industries we are using gas chromatography for checking the quality control of the manufacture. Okay, and in research purposes we are also using our gas chromatographic technique from the research of meteorites to many natural products, and for safety from environment to food to forensic. Okay, so gas chromatography with that we are using are also hyphenated with mass spectrometers. Okay, that means we are adding mass spectrometer with gas chromatography. This will enable us for the identification of the chemical compound that we are wanting to separate. Okay, so what we have learned? We have learned that gas chromatography is the analytical technique that we are using to separate the chemical component of a mixture. Okay, this chemical component can be organic molecules or gases. Okay, but the chemical component should have some important properties, that it should be volatile in nature and it should be having less than 1250 molecular weight. And another important thing, it should be thermostable. If it fulfills these three criteria, then the sample is eligible for the separation of the chemical components via gas chromatography, otherwise not. Okay, and gas chromatography we are using widely for various kind of industrial purposes. Okay, from for the quality control, mainly for the quality control of manufacture of many products, from cars to our various important pharmaceuticals and chemicals. Okay, and we are also using it for research purposes, for research of meteorites to natural products, and for safety of environmental food to forensic. Okay, and gas chromatographies, we are also hyphenated those gas chromatographies with mass spectrometer to enable the identification of the chemical component. Okay, so that is all about the gas chromatographic technique. Now it is time to discuss about the strength and the limitation of the gas chromatography. So first important thing, gas chromatography is widely useful for variety of research technique, variety of industrial approaches or industrial fields, right? For the quality control of the cars, for the chemicals and pharmaceutical products, we have discussed it earlier, right? And also it is useful for analysis in research, mainly the routine analysis for the few to many hundred, and in some cases thousand, when we are using a system called GC into GC of compound in many different matrices from solid to gases. Okay, so that means you can simply remember that gas chromatography is routinely used in research purposes. Okay, and it is the robust technique, and it is often frequently attached with mass spectrometer. Okay, for detecting of the compounds that is we have separated. Okay, so then the limitation we have already discussed, that it is only limited for the separation of volatile compound. Okay, and who have molecular weight below 1250 Dalton, right? And thermolabile compound cannot be used for gas chromatography, and if we want to use thermolabile compound separation via gas chromatography, then for that purpose you have to use the cold injection, and we have to perform the entire technique in low temperature. Okay, and another important disadvantage is more polar analyte can be stuck or lost in the gas chromatography. We will going to discuss about the instrument of the gas chromatography with the help of a short clip. Then you can understand how long its stationary phase is, right? So there is a high chance that the polar compounds can be stuck, either become stuck or get lost in GC, right? So therefore, under such circumstances, the system should be deactivated and maintained, or these analytes will be derivatized. Okay, so now we have discussed about gas chromatography, right, in this video. So let's see this 10-second video clip first, then we will again do a revise and the entire video will be completed. So it is so this video clip I have taken from internet, so I will also try to give the source from where I have taken it in the description box, so that you can also consult this. So this column is the stationary phase, okay, and from this carrier gas we are transferring our mobile phase, which contains the sample, right? And here we are separating chemical substances, mainly the organic molecules and very importantly gases, right? Now the idea is gas chromatography, the mobile phase will be transferred via the injector, and it will be traveled through the column and then detector, and via the amplifier it will be traveled to the computer, right? And in the computer you will get graphs, in the form of graphs get the entire data, right, that you will use for your analysis, right? So again, from the carrier gas, the mobile phase is transferred through the injector into the stationary phase, and in the stationary phase it will be transferred to the detector, and in the detector after amplifier we will get various peaks depending on the type of the compounds we have used. Okay, so this is the idea of the gas chromatographic technique. Okay, so again, gas chromatography, this is our stationary phase, and this carrier gas cylinder contains the mobile phase. Now we are using gas chromatography to separating mainly what chemical substances, right? And among chemical substances mainly organic molecules, and what among along with gases, right? So now we are using gas chromatographic technique, right? And it is often hyphenated with another kind of technique for, let's say, mass spectrometer, to identify the compounds which is separated. Okay, and another important thing, we are using gas chromatography for variety of industrial aspects. Not only that, for research aspects also, for the research, for the analysis of meteorites to various kind of natural products, and for also the control of environmental aspects, right? For such kind of various aspects we are using the gas chromatographic technique. Okay, so important criteria for the sample to be eligible for separation via gas chromatographic technique is the compound should be thermostable, right? Because remember, during this entire procedure a heat will be generated, right? So we cannot use thermolabile substances, but if we are willing to use thermolabile substances, under such circumstances we have to use cold injection. Not only cold injection, we have to also use low temperature to conduct the entire process. Okay, not only that, the compound that we are willing to separate via gas chromatography should be volatile and are of below 1250 molecular weight. Okay, and another important thing, when we are using polar analyte, we have to keep extra attention, right? Because there is a chance that the polar analyte can become stuck or lost in the column. Okay, and as a result, under such circumstances you have to deactivate the entire system, and then you have to maintain it well, otherwise the analytes will be derivatized, and as a result it will be lost, right? So that is the idea of our gas chromatographic technique. Okay, we are using gas chromatographic technique to separating chemical substances, mainly organic molecule and gases, right? And there are four important criteria that a particular sample should fill to be eligible to be separated with the help of gas chromatographic technique. One is the sample should be volatile. It should be less than 1250 Dalton in weight, and mainly it should be thermostable. Okay, and another important thing, that the gas chromatography is often attached with a mass spectrometer that will help us to analyze the compound that we have separated from the complex mixture, right? And this is entirely done with the help of those graphs that we are obtaining in the computer, right? We will match them with the standard ones, and we can understand that what compound that our sample contains, right, that we have separated. Okay, and we have also discussed the strength is, gas chromatography is a technique that can be used for wide variety of industrial approaches, and it is routinely used for various kind of research purposes, right? For research purposes you can use gas chromatographic technique to analyze samples that are from very few to 100 in numbers, or in sometimes you can also analyze thousands of samples in one time, right? But the problems are, the samples to be separated should be volatile and should be below molecular weight of 1050 Dalton. okay, and the sample should be thermostable, right? And another important thing, we have to pay special attention when we are using polar analyte, because there is a chance that the polar analyte gets stuck and become lost in the GC chromatography, right? So under such circumstances, we have to deactivate the entire system and then we will maintain them, otherwise the analytes will be derivatized. So we have to keep enough attention towards the entire process. Okay, so again let's see the entire procedure once again, that beautiful procedure. So here from this pipeline, the mobile phase is going on to the column. This column contains the stationary phase. From the stationary phase, then via detector and amplifier, it is converting or it is generating a chromatogram, okay, which is nothing but a graph having various peaks, right? So now with the help of these peaks, we can identify which compounds that we have separated, right, and at how much amount it is present, okay, and what are the different disadvantages of the gas chromatography. So remember it very carefully. For a sample to be separated with the help of gas chromatography, the sample should be volatile in nature and it should have a molecular weight less than 1250 Dalton. Okay, that is very important thing. Remember it very carefully. Okay, and the sample should be thermostable in nature, otherwise it cannot be used in gas chromatography due to the very hot condition inside the instrument. Okay, so that is the concept of gas chromatographic technique. So I hope this video will be helpful to you to understand the basic concept of the gas chromatographic technique. So with this video, we have completed our lecture series for chromatography. We have discussed paper chromatography, we have discussed thin layer chromatography, we have discussed our column chromatography, we have discussed size exclusion chromatography, then we have discussed our ion exchange chromatography, then we have discussed HPLC, and then gas chromatographic technique. Okay, so I hope this video lecture series will be helpful to you. So now then in some other time, I would surely try to modify the content, because I am only now a graduate student. So in future I will also try to modify it on the basis of my knowledge. Okay, so thank you for listening to this class.